welcome to the Insomnia Project. Sit back, lie back, relax, put your hands behind your head if you'd like, and listen as we have a mundane conversation, a relaxing conversation. One thing that we're going to try to do is have a conversation that will be hopefully less than fascinating so that you can just drift off. Thank you for joining us. We hope you will listen and sleep. I'm your host, Marco Timpano, and joining me in the studio is Rylan Wilkie. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I got Kevin's name. I just obliterated it.
Yeah.
And I felt bad because I've known Kevin for years and years and years, and I've just really formally met you, even though we've worked together. But Rylan, I'm quite excited to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Rylan, you are a self-proclaimed music nerd. You just told me that.
Yeah, I am a music nerd.
Okay,
yeah.
so let me ask you this. Is there an artist that you enjoy that would surprise some of your friends or family?
That would surprise them.
So, for example, I've been a huge fan of Dolly Parton for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And growing up, a lot of people would kind of look at me and say snide comments. It's only been in the last 5 years that people have really embraced her. And
she's cool now.
Yeah. But I love
the hipsters.
Yeah, exactly. But I loved her since I was a kid.
Yeah, because she's great.
She is great.
Yeah.
And we have a whole episode where I talked to Shannon McDonough about Dolly.
Yeah.
So I want to know, who is that person for you? Who is that sort of secret person?
I'm trying to think of someone off the top, but it's funny because I was just listening to the other day to Islands in the Stream with Kenny Rogers and Dolly. And I still remember that, from when I was a kid. And I was like, this is a really good song. And I think I knew that as a kid.
Sure.
But, it wasn't cool or to like Dolly or Kenny Rogers. But I remember my mom having a lot of Kenny Rogers on vinyl.
He was huge.
He was huge,
yeah.
And I loved him. That's somebody who I really love that people might find surprising, but I think maybe he's cool now, but it's Neil Diamond.
Okay.
I love Neil Diamond.
Sure.
I just think it's so catchy. His songwriting is amazing. And, I think it was never cool. I don't even think it's cool now to like Neil Diamond, but I love Neil Diamond.
Have you ever seen him in concert?
No, but I'd love to. My mom has.
I bet he'd be amazing.
I bet he would be too, yeah.
There's certain artists who are just those people who have performed all over.
Yeah, totally.
You get them on stage and it's like, this is where I belong.
Well, and he wrote a lot of songs for people too, right? That he never, like him and Carole King and, so, Neil Diamond. Who else? I don't know, there's probably a lot of,
Sure, if they come up, just mention it. But let me ask you this. Do you still buy vinyl?
I recently started buying vinyl.
Okay.
Because I think I resisted it for a long time.
Sure.
And then I moved and I kind of got rid of a stereo. And then recently I was like, I really miss having a stereo. So I was doing a show with a musician and he suggested certain vinyl setups, and I'm kind of into it now. I don't buy a lot of vinyl.
Sure.
I just kind of buy the ones that I really, want to hear on vinyl.
Is there an LP? So this is one of the things about LPs for me, even when I was a kid and buying them, that you'd buy them and only certain ones would have great songs all on one side that you could just play and not have to change.
Yeah.
So for me, one of those is David Bowie's album, I want to say Modern Love. Which is just great. You just play one side and it's like every song is just great. Is there a vinyl that you're like, I just love playing this from start to finish?
Because I'm kind of new to the whole vinyl experience, but I feel like I try to buy, I try to buy vinyl that I will only really love hearing the whole thing, because it's that whole thing too, right? It's like you have to change it, right? Yeah. And I think that's why I went out and bought it, is because I always loved album artwork and lyrics and lyric sheets and all that stuff. So now I can actually just put on a record and force myself to sort of sit there and listen to an album. Whereas, now because I have Apple Music or Spotify or whatever, you just find yourself not really actually listening to albums in the same way. So, but I'm trying to think, I recently bought the War on Drugs. Do you know them?
No.
They're amazing.
Okay.
I can put any of their albums on and I just let them play, and it's I don't have to change it. It's just always sort of there. So I'd say that War on Drugs. Yeah.
There's something very tactile about holding vinyl and having that music physically in your hand. And the smell of it coming out of
the smell, like opening it, I think I missed all those things, like taking the packaging off, like opening it, the smell of the record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there is something, and feeling like you own it, and that you have bought it, hopefully mostly supporting the record label,
Sure.
but also supporting the artist.
A fragility to it too, because you're like, I hold this music in my hand.
Yeah.
And if I'm not careful, I could scratch it.
Yeah.
And not be able to hear one or two of those songs.
Exactly. And versus, with digital or, Spotify or whatever, you have a million songs and it's great, but it's like you're sort of crippled by choice. It's like, I don't even know what to listen to. Whereas this sort of forces you to I'm just going to listen to this album from, or this side of this album. And although I heard some recent thing that someone said most people that buy vinyl now just buy it to buy it. Some of them don't even open it. Like a lot of it just goes unopened because it's just like a cool thing or it's a collector thing. But yeah, I resisted the vinyl thing for a while because I was like, I don't know, really, are we going back to vinyl?
Right.
Because I was like a compact disc kid where it's just CDs. But yeah, the other thing I miss is like, I was talking to a friend who's also a music nerd recently. Like I miss going to, like Sam the Record Man on Yonge Street or something, and you had those guys that worked there, and those were like your influencers, or they were the ones who were like, have you heard that? Oh, you like that? Then you should listen to this, It was like, now you get it some computer algorithm telling you like David Bowie and War on Drugs, so you should listen to
this person.
It's like, no, I liked it when it was the guy who was like, he's like in his 60s with like a mustache and had gone to all the shows and had seen all the bands and is like, you got to check these guys out.
Yeah.
Or
if you went there, if you frequented that place, they'd be like, oh, this just came in from Europe or from England. Have you heard of them?
Totally.
Yeah.
Or they would like withhold stuff. Like, I don't know if you're ready for this.
Yeah. That's my favorite.
I know like you're into this, but this might be too, you're like, no, give it to me. It was like, and you can see like music nerds like in music stores, like they literally get that glazed over look in their eyes.
I remember buying like extended 12-inch remakes of like one song where they would just do extended versions of those songs on vinyl. And that was my favorite thing. It'd be like you'd like a song and you'd go and you'd see if there was an extended version of that song.
What would they do? Like who were the artists that would do that?
There's a lot of pop stuff.
Like ABBA or
no, more like Madonna or I'm trying to think of some other. It was always like one hit wonders that would do an extended version of their songs.
Yeah, they had that on cassette too for a while, right? Where they would have like on one side they'd have the hit single, and then the other side they'd have the extended version, and they were like you could buy them for like $2.
Singles, I think.
Singles,
they were called. Yeah. What about concerts? Do you enjoy attending concerts?
I do. I used to enjoy them more. I think I should go to more concerts, I guess. Or should, I was recently thought about that. I was like, why don't I go to more concerts? And I think that I don't really like crowds.
Okay.
I think that's what I realized was like, I've always felt kind of like, I've been to concerts that have been amazing, but I've often gone and been like, oh, this venue sucks. Or, you got to stand there for a long time. And I also like I sometimes you feel too like I have a friend who's like 6'5" and he's always like, I hate being the tall guy at the concert.
Right.
Got to sit in the back. And so I feel like it has to be like
more of an intimate thing.
Yeah. I used to go to a lot more live shows, but I don't go to as many anymore. Although I always have a great time usually. It's amazing. Yeah.
Where do you listen to your music primarily?
I'd say driving probably.
Okay.
Or, often if I'm at home just doing dishes or painting or doing something, I'll just put on my headphones and, just listen. Yeah.
Is there an artist whose music resonates with you today more so than when you first discovered them?
Yeah, there are those artists who sort of, they kind of sneak up on you, or you go, oh, I wasn't really into them. I didn't really get it when I first heard that. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Like I think of Patti Smith.
Okay.
Or like, bands that you're like, I don't really understand this, but now, I kind of get it now.
Right.
Like Brian Eno, or like those, even David Bowie. I mean, some of his stuff is so out there. And I think growing up, I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm really into this. But then you're like, oh, wow, this is really cool stuff,
Sure.
Or I get why. Like that, what, the whole new wave thing, I'm kind of new to, because
Okay.
I was born in '77, so I was kind of missed that whole.
Sure.
Like I was too young for like Devo, and I saw Devo in concert, kind of by accident in Whistler in like 2010, and I was like, wow,
Sure.
this is amazing, Like I just had missed the whole kind of that new wave, Brian, Devo, and yeah. So, I mean, that kind of stuff kind of just snuck up on me. Or even the Cars,
Right. Because the lead singer just passed away not too long
Yeah,
ago.
he just passed away. So I feel like there's a lot of people, it's being played a lot. And I'm like, oh, right, I forgot how great this is, too. Early 80s, kind of like late 70s, early 80s. Talking Heads, which I've always kind of been into. But going back and listening to that stuff, too, I'm like, wow, it sounds like so much of the stuff that's coming out now.
Right.
Everybody thinks everything is new, and it's not. It's just recycled.
Yeah.
Like every 20-year-old thinks they're like, right now the big thing is like sort of early 90s grungy, not grunge sound, but that kind of Sonic Youth, Nirvana kind of sound,
Right.
and like younger bands coming out doing that, and you're like, well, I already lived through this. Like I'm starting to see it.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
I can go on and on.
No, it's great. It's interesting when you were talking about new wave. I kind of caught the middle of the new wave movement, let's say.
Yeah.
But there was a band that I never really followed when that was actually happening.
Yeah.
That when I listen to their music now, I'm like, oh man, I really wish
Yeah.
I could go back in time and be a fan and listen when the Specials were
The Specials,
putting out
the
stuff, because I
Specials.
listened to their music and I'm like, oh, I dig this so much.
Totally.
Mhm.
Or Crowded House.
Right?
Like, he's so good. Neil Finn. Anyway, yeah, bands like that I didn't, I was like in elementary school, so I was listening to Michael Jackson, Thriller.
Sure, of
and
course.
Madonna.
Huge
and
album.
Cyndi Lauper.
Right, right. Those really had impact on the
Yeah, I
music
mean, they were
scene.
huge. I mean, Thriller was like, that was the biggest thing, that album was so, it was just everywhere.
It was epic, yeah.
Yeah, it
That
was
was the
epic.
first concert I ever saw, was Michael
Really?
Jackson. It was Michael Jackson and his brothers did a tour called the Victory Tour.
Yeah, I remember.
And I was
Like 85?
something like that. It
Yeah,
must have been
84,
because I
something
was
like that?
I was just maybe
Maybe it was earlier, I don't know.
It was around that time for sure,
With Jermaine and like, yeah, I
Oh.
remember seeing the album cover.
Yeah. And my neighbors were going. They were taking their daughter. Their daughter was older, and they said,
Over 90 of the top 100 U.S. accounting firms trust Bill to handle bill pay processes. Why? Because our tools are built on over $1 trillion of secure payments. We're not just moving money. We're powering financial workflows for 500,000 customers. That's a level of expertise you just can't fake. Ready to talk with an expert? Visit Bill.com/proven to get started and grab a $250 gift card as a thank you. Terms and conditions apply. See offer page for details.
does Marco want to go? They asked my mom.
Yeah.
And I remember, I wasn't a huge Michael Jackson fan, but it was just epic at that time. And my mom's like, yeah, he'll go. And I was like, I don't know. And I remember the tickets being like expensive. They were like
Yeah.
$46.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
This is really expensive. But I remember just being like, wow, it was
Yeah.
incredible. Even though I wasn't the hugest fan, it was like, this concert is just
Yeah.
incredible.
I know, it's such a sad story, really. I mean, I don't know. I can't even bring myself to watch the documentary, but
Yeah.
he just was so. I mean, if you go back and watch some of those videos of him performing, he's just, there's just nothing like it. I mean, he was incredible, and yeah, I'm trying to think. My first concert.
Yeah, what was your first concert?
Was Hall & Oates.
Oh, Hall & Oates.
Hey, that's a band that I love. That
Sure.
people, that it's kind of cool now. Like, I feel like they're kind of cool now, but like there was a long period where Hall & Oates were not cool.
Hall & Oates is one of those bands that is easy to laugh at or shrug off. But if you listen, they have so many hits.
I know.
Like people don't realize, like when you listen to their
hits.
you're like, that's Hall & Oates. Oh, and that's Hall & Oates.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there are artists like that, right? Like Neil Diamond, Hall & Oates. Billy Joel's like that too. Sure. Like I've never been a big fan, but so many hits. Actually, you know what? We went to a concert. Like it wasn't even a concert. It was at a pub where they had an Elton John tribute band. Although I think he was recently in Toronto. I'd love to see Elton John.
Yeah.
So they were great. This guy, he sounded like Elton John.
Sure.
But with that night, I remember thinking it was like 40 songs, and they were all hits.
Yeah.
Like I knew all of them,
Yeah.
and I was like, I forgot. Like he's just a hit machine.
Yeah.
Elton John's incredible.
I am not a huge Elton John fan, but I saw him in concert. I saw him as a part of he was one of the people performing in this particular concert. And he was spectacular.
I bet.
Spectacular in a way that only certain artists can be.
Yeah.
And you're like, this person just on stage he's just magic.
Yeah, he's Elton John.
It's like Celine Dion too. Once again, not someone I would ever go and see.
But I'd go see her for sure if I was like, in Vegas or wherever.
I saw her. She was doing our version, the Canadian version of the Grammys, let's say. The Junos at the time. So she was one of the people performing at the Junos way back when. Mm-hmm. And she wasn't the mega star she is today. She was popular and big. And once again, not somebody I would have on my radar. And I just remember sitting there and listening to her voice and being like, this person is incredible. Just like Sarah McLachlan, when you hear her live.
Yeah, I bet.
She's better live.
Totally.
Sade was like that too, where it was like her
Well, there's
voice.
something about that confidence too, of just like, that's just who they are, and they can't, when I saw Spirit of the West, I felt the same thing. John Mann just passed away. And I wasn't a huge fan, but I saw them open for Blue Rodeo in like the 90s.
Sure.
And he was so electric.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just on fire. And you were like, wow. And his voice. And you could tell he just loved what he was doing, And there's something just infectious about that. You can't deny that. It was just incredible. Like I probably, Celine Dion's probably the same, right? Mm-hmm. Like she's just great at what she does. And she just owns it.
Totally. Yeah. Is there a style or genre of music that you enjoy listening to that's a little bit unusual? So, for example, for me, I could listen to people yodel all day long.
Oh, yeah.
I just love it. I just think it's such joyous,
That's so funny that you say that.
And it's like every once in a while, a country, an old country artist will have a bit of yodeling in their song, and I just love it.
That's funny you say that because that actually just there's something about that folk music that's really. When I was at theater school, I can't even remember this. There's Alan, what's his name? Anyway, this musical historian from the Smithsonian went around and recorded all of this folk music, mostly American, but all around the world. He would go to small villages, whether it's in Italy or in Maine, and he would record people just singing either in churches or in town squares or like local choirs or folk songs, right? Mm-hmm. And they are the most beautiful things you've ever heard. And that's an unusual thing to like, but I feel the same way about yodeling. Like I did a show in Blythe where it was about farming and farm families, and we met all these dairy farmers from around Blythe, and most of them were of Swiss and German descent.
Right.
And they were quite very stoic German, Swiss dairy farmers, these big sort of burly, gruff guys. And one of the guys said to us one point, well, we have a choir, me and some of the other farmers. And we said, oh, really? He says, well, would you like, we kind of got to know him a bit better. He said, well, would you like to come to one of our rehearsals? Well, it was a yodeling choir.
Oh, my goodness.
I had no idea what to expect, right? I'm thinking a yodeling choir. So here I am with the director and about 5 or 6 other actors, and they invite us. It's like a late at night. We're on like this tiny church community hall in the middle of nowhere. There aren't like any towns around, and all of these trucks start pulling up and these farmers start getting out, and we go in, and it's mostly men. I think there are a couple of women, and they start singing. Have you ever heard a yodeling choir?
No, I haven't, but
we were all crying.
Right.
It was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. I think just partially their vulnerability and able to express themselves. But it was for them, it was a community thing. They were getting together and they would eat and they would yodel. And I was like, this is incredible. So yeah, I guess that answers the question. I think I'm really into like that kind of folk music. That's yeah. Have you heard any like any of that stuff? Like field recordings of he would go down to the south too. I'm trying to remember his name now. Alan.
It's interesting. I travel quite a bit.
Yeah.
And when you're in different places, you'll often hear, like in the town square, people who are from there singing in the language that is of the nation that you're in. And they'll sing folk songs or things you've never heard of and sounds. You're like, this is so beautiful.
Or like a style of singing that like, how did that happen? That, everyone, that's just who they are, or that speaks to their culture or whatever. I'm sure in Italy too, there's like, you go to places where they have, singing in, the squares, or not even choirs. I don't even know what they'd be called. Often with these recordings, it's often people at work. Right. So it's like they're fishermen or whatever, and this is the song they sing when they're, you know what I mean? I love the organic nature of that.
I was recently in a high school in Newmarket, Ontario, and I was there to do a workshop. And it was an art school. And I remember walking through the halls to get to the class where I was going to go.
Yeah.
And there was the music department. They were just singing, like rehearsing and practicing. And it wasn't anything meant to be listened to. But it was so tremendous to hear these young voices singing and stopping and then restarting and getting instruction.
Yeah, I grew up singing in choirs too, and I feel like, I also grew up going to church and, United Church, so I wasn't like really religious.
Sure.
But one thing I do miss is like that strangers getting together to sing.
Yeah.
I think, people don't really go to church anymore. They don't go to sing with other people. There's something really beautiful about that. Right?
Yeah, there certainly is. And there's something really nostalgic about singing in a place of worship that you may have gone to, where I know sometimes we'll be in a church and I will and they'll start singing one of the hymns and it'll just come out of my mouth. And my wife will turn to me and say, how do you know this song? And I'm like, I think I learned it in high school or in grade school when I was 14, 11.
We were just watching a movie the other day, and my wife's Catholic, and a song came on, and she started singing it too. And I was like, oh, how do you know that song? And she's like, oh, I just...
there's a couple of Latin songs where it's like, I know some of the words to this. And she's like, how do you know? And I'm like, I think we sang it for someone's communion or something. We learned this song. So it's really funny.
Yeah.
I always find it humorous when that happens.
Yeah.
But I do love listening to world music and hearing different songs.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Or just, I won't say I'm like a world music fan, but I know that those recordings, those folk song recordings, I find really cool. And I think, it's, there's something really cool about just hearing untrained voices sing too,
Yeah. Yeah. I've never been a fan of karaoke.
No, me neither.
That's not been my thing.
No, but people really get into it, don't they?
They really. And every once in a while you hear something, you're like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. The worst is going with actors, too, who are like really into it, because you always feel like they're
trying to...
they're like showing off. Yeah. Or this is like my audition piece or something.
Living their dream.
But then there are the people who just go and... Like, I remember one of the first times I went to karaoke was in Toronto at... remember there was a place called Healy's?
Yeah.
Jeff Healy owned?
Yeah.
It was in the basement. They'd have karaoke night. And I don't know why. I think a friend was doing a show at the factory or something, and we went there. But like, I was surprised at how serious people took it.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't. They didn't like actors getting up and making fun of.
No, of course not.
They wanted it to be like, no, this is a serious thing.
Yeah, I met Jeff Healy a couple of times.
Oh yeah.
Such a lovely person.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to somebody who worked closely with him. And for those of you who don't know who Jeff Healy was, a fantastic blues artist, and he was blind. And one of the things that the person who worked with him said that he had going back to vinyl, an extensive vinyl collection.
Right.
And he could pick up a record and then just feel the grooves with his hands and tell you what album
Wow.
was. Yeah, and I was like always floored by
That's
that.
cool.
And they said he's got a musical knowledge, like especially with jazz and blues,
Yeah.
that no one else has.
He was incredible.
He was
guitar
incredible.
player. Like that's another guy that like I feel like I didn't. I think I saw him open for someone, and he was incredible. But I didn't. Like at the time, I was kind of like, oh, I don't really know Jeff Healey. But I bet if I went back and listened to those records,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
incredible guitar player.
And my encounters with him, he was a wonderful and lovely
Yeah.
individual. I have to say, very
Yeah.
kind. I didn't have many interactions with him, but the ones I had were very memorable.
I wonder what's there now. Like it was in the basement below
What was it?
the Paddock.
Yeah, the Paddock, which is on
Yeah,
Bathurst
Bathurst.
Street, if you're ever in Toronto.
Bathurst and Queen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a fun place. Other places I remember going to, and I don't know if you lived in Toronto at this time, but there is a club across the street that's now a furniture store called the Big Bop. And I remember you
no,
going
I don't
there.
remember that. No.
Or these clubs that no
Yeah.
longer exist.
Yeah.
Even in New York, I remember going to the Limelight, and now it's a clothing
yeah.
store or something.
All the even in Toronto, like a lot of the venues are just those classic venues are gone, aren't they?
Yeah, they're disappearing.
Like I talked to friends who went and saw like the Clash or like the Ramones at some. I don't even know the name.
Sure.
Some venue in the East End, like Parliament and
Yeah.
something. I'm like, I don't think there's any clubs there or concert venues there anymore.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. Well, that brings us towards the end of this
Great, yeah.
episode. Rylan, thank you so much
Yeah, you're
for
welcome.
coming on the Insomnia Project and sharing your enthusiasm for music. I know for some people they will have been. This episode did not put me to sleep, but I really enjoyed it. So I hope if you're not asleep at this point, you at the very least enjoyed this episode on music. As always, the Insomnia Project is produced by Drumcast Productions, and this particular episode, as you may have guessed by listening to it, was recorded in Toronto, Canada. We hope you listen and sleep.